Welcome back to Insights at DDLynn Designs, a unique twist in the ancient art of wire. So I was playing with the wire like I always do, and I came up with these adorable earrings. And they're just so cute. And I added a little crystal bead, and I'm gonna make it beginner friendly as possible because we can't learn if we don't try. But they're just so cute. And they're really cute on and light as a feather. So before we get started, if you're new to my channel, I'm very detail oriented. I'm going to be going through a lot of techniques this morning, how to harden your wire, how to straighten your wire. It's really important, I think, to really focus in on technique, how something is done, how to shape the wire, how to get the wire to go in the direction that you want, hiding the wire, bending the wire, curling the wire. These are all techniques, and you got to practice. So let's get started. So the materials that you're going to use, and we're going to make these just a little bit bigger, are going to be 2 pieces of 6 inches. So you want them 6 inches long each, and 20 gauge dead soft round copper. So I've already bent one of mine in half. So I've already done that. We're going to be bending this one in half. And then you're going to need 3 inches of 22 gauge half round. If you're new to wire wrapping, what is half round wire? It's a piece of wire, and all they've done is simply cut it in half. So it's flat on one side and slightly domed on the other. So that's what you're going to need. 6 inches times 2, 20 gauge, and 22 gauge or weaving wire. You can use that as well. Okay, so then you're going to need 2 ear hooks, and I've done a lot of tutorials where I show you how to do my ear hooks, so I would appreciate if you would check out my videos. It takes 1 second to give me a thumbs up, so here we go. So what I did is I marked the middle, and I made my mark a little bit wider so that I can find center better. And what I mean by that, if I made a little tiny mark and it was dead center middle, you have to gauge more on where to bend it. It's just a tip. So I'm going to come to the outside of that mark a little bit. Then I'm going to put my thumb here. I'm going to hold very firmly with my tweezer nose, and I'm going to squeeze them together. Then I'm going to come in with my flat nose because I want them a little bit closer together, and I'm going to hold both legs very firmly and relatively close to where the wire is shaping into you, and I'm going to come on both sides and gently, slowly, and methodically squeeze. Equal pressure. You don't want to jackknife your wire, but if you do, you can come out of it. You would just straighten it up. So now I'm going to line these up just to make sure that they're relatively squeezed together the same, and they are. So I'm going to put these down on my board, and I'm going to even up my legs, even though that we'll be cutting those later. Just flattening that out. Put these down on my board, and I'm going to get my flush cutters, and I'm going to cut these so that they're even. So now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our pliers. You can use round nose. You can use your 6-step bell making pliers. So you can use the number 1 to start your bend because we're going to make a loop. Or these are by Zuron, and they're made by a couple of different people. These are half flat on one side, so the jaw is flat on the inside and round on the other. The thing about these, though, is the round doesn't go all the way down. So you're limited to maintain a round shape about 1/3 or less of the barrel. Because you can see here, it's flat. See that? And then it's flat here. So it's not rounded all the way around, and I'm not quite sure why they did that, but oh well. So here's what we're gonna do. You can do both of them at the same time. You wanna make sure your wires, now here's a little tip. See how they wanna cross over? That's the nature of round wire. So I'm just coming down to the bottom here and anchoring that wire away just to keep them straight. Now, you can do them both at the same time, but then I would use the 6-step bell making plier to do that, and I would use the number 1, or you can do one at a time. So let's do one at a time. So I'm going to put the tip, and if you're using this plier by Xuron, you want the round, because I'm going to be rolling towards me at first. I'm going to put the tip so that it's not sticking out, because I want a nice curled tip, and I'm just going to roll. So I have this. Now, if you're first starting out, I would recommend that you do a little bit on each side so you can maintain symmetry. So I'm just going to roll. So let's match them up. So we have this. And it just really helps you. It helps gauge for you. So now I'm going to put the round nose part of the plier inside of the loop. And let me see what I need to get in my best working direction. I'm going to move the wire away from me because I want to roll to the outside. It's whatever you're comfortable with. I've just got that tip sticking out a little bit. And I'm going to hold both wires together as I roll this in. I'm going to make a bigger loop on this one. So and as I'm doing this, I'm holding the 2 legs and I'm kind of pushing them as I'm rolling in with my right hand. And I'm just going to keep rolling. I'm going to stop there. If I need to make adjustments, I will. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to put my plier back in and my tip's just sticking out a little bit. And then I'm going to hold here, and I need to readjust my hand. So I'm going to hold both these wires here as I'm rolling in, and I'm actually pushing them just a little bit as I'm rolling towards myself. And then I'm going to check them out and see what they look like. Let me just get a hold of them. So here's what we have. Now these can roll in more if you want them to, and how you would do that is I'm going to turn the loop towards the palm of my hand, and I'm going to grab the tip, and I'm just going to push it up. So I've got a little bit more of a curl on it, because I was noticing that one was a little bit more curled than the other. So now what you want to do, and you want to do these they need to be in the opposite direction, okay? So they need to be in the opposite direction so that they are, trying to figure out how to explain this. So the wire, see how the wire is curving? It's in the back. It's curving and it's in the back, okay? So what we're going to do, and I'm going to curl this one in just a little bit more. It looked a little wider. Let me take a look. Just put it down on your board and line them up. Yeah, I still need to bring it in. So what I'm going to do, always going to give you lots of tips. Just going to hold firmly and just very gently. I mean, it's so little, the movement and the pressure that I'm using. Okay, I like that better. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab the one that's going to, let's just say this is going to be our left for right now. And your round wires want to roll on each other, so I'm just making some space. And then this is going to be the top wire, okay? So all we're going to do is we're going to swing it over. I'm holding firmly on the loop, and I'm holding the tip of the wire here, and I'm swinging it over. Like that. Very slow and methodical movements. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm holding the loop, my fingers on the tip of the wire. See, if we did it down here, we could get a sharp bend, and we don't want to do that. We want a nice curve. So you hold that loop very firmly, and you just swing it over. So let's see what we've got. So that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to do a little bit more. This is all for beginners. I'm going to take my time, and I just want to pull a little bit and create more gap. So I'm holding firmly on the loop, and I'm just pulling the wire just to create more gap. And then the same thing over here. And if it's easier, turn your work around, hold your loop, and pull. And then just line them up on your board. So we have that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to curve this wire, and we're going to be using our thumb. So I'm just going to back it out a little bit, just a little bit. Give myself some working room, okay? So just backing it out, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to back it out. Hold firmly on that loop. I just need some working room. You always want to look at your work. Maintaining symmetry is critical in this magical ancient art. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my thumb in here, and I'm anchoring off the top of the wire here because this is going to allow me to maintain pressure. Okay, and as I'm anchoring off, I'm going to gently push down. But first, as I'm pushing down, I'm using my thumb or my thumbnail, and I'm creating a curve. You want to do, and I'm pushing down on the tip, you want to do a little bit of each one so you can maintain symmetry. Because I'm going to make this one bigger. So now I'm going to come over here to this one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open that up so I have some room. Just opening it up, coming up deep down inside, anchoring off this wire here with my finger, and start my curving. See how I'm pushing down a little bit over here? So let's check them out. I'll put this one this way and this one this way because it's easier. And I'm just looking at that curve, and I want to curve this one more. So I'm going to open that up a little bit, just curve it a little bit more. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten all of this out. And I'm going to come in with my finger here and just keep curving. These are really good ways to learn about the wire. A little bit of fiddling here. I need to get this wire just a little bit closer. So let's take a look at those. Okay. So now I'm deciding on how big I want these. I'm going to curve this a little bit more. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to hold firmly here and just bend at the tip. So I'm bending at the tip because I'm looking at that and saying, you know what, I want more curve on that. I just want more curve on these because they're going to be bigger. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Oops, hold on a minute. I got to get a visual here because, yeah, this wire's got to go to the back. So I'm just bending it in more. These are all different techniques to get the shape. That's the technique. And how do I get my wire how do I shape that wire? How do I get that wire to do that? So I'm going to bend this in just a little bit more up here, holding firmly at my loop. There we go. I like that. Now at this point, we can hammer the curve or not. If you're not accustomed to hammering, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold firmly at the loop. This is step by step by step, and I'm going to push this wire at the tip away. I need some working room. Just rocking it gently. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to push this wire away. So now I'm going to turn them around. I'm going to bend this one in at the curve a little bit more. This is really good techniques, all about symmetry. That's what this is all about. So over here, my wire is riding down too much. So I'm just going to come in and push it in at the loop. Just push it in at the loop. And it's just really a personal preference, really. So I'm going to line them up. This one's got to go in. So I'm going to curve this down. This is a really good way, y'all, to learn about your wire, what the wire wants to do. Okay, that looks good to me. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut some length off here because these are too long on top because we're going to curl them in. So I'm going to line these up on my board. Just making some adjustments so that my length is going to be even with each. This is how we create symmetry. And I think based on where these are sitting, so if you're measuring as the curve is going around over the top, okay, this is a 1-inch square, so it's going over the top and it's hitting the 1/2-inch mark and the 1/2-inch mark. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark them. So I'm going to move this one over. I'm going to slide this down so I can see my little marks. So again, the curve is on the inside of the 1-inch square. I'm going to put my finger over here so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to mark. So here's our 1-inch square. I'm going to mark at the 1/4 inch mark from the center line. Okay? So it's curving around 1/4 inch from the center line. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. Get that inside. I need to move over here. That tape's a visual eyesore for me. I'm just going to move it down so it's in the inside, and I'm going to mark at the 1/4 inch. And that's where I'm going to cut. And it might still be a little bit too long the way I'm looking at this, you guys, so hold on a minute. That may be a little bit too long, or we could make a really big curl in the middle. So you know what? I'm going to change up. And I'm going to mark it exactly at 1 inch. So let me show you. I'm inside the 1-inch square. The curve is on the center line, and I'm going to mark at the 1 inch, meaning from here. I hope I'm making sense, because I know that probably sounds so confusing. So the curve is on the inside. Here's my curve. And here's my center line. Yeah, because I was looking at that and I thought, oh my goodness, that's really long. So this is the process. I'm going to cut on the outside of that mark and on the outside of this mark. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line them up to see how my length is matching up. And that's pretty good. So now what we're going to do is you can hammer this or not, as I mentioned. So we've got our left and our right. We're going to roll this in. So I'm going to anchor this out of my way a little bit, holding my loop firmly. So I have more working room. So I'm going to get my, not those. You can use round nose, you can use whatever you want to make your loop. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to smash this tip down a little bit. I'm going to do that by squeezing on it. See how I smashed it down? And then I'm going to roll off of it. I'm making like a, kind of like a point. We need to have a better bend in it. So I'm going to come further back because I kind of want that not so flush. It's rolling off that tip. Do you see that? Now I've kind of straightened that up there, and I don't want any straight. I want my wire to maintain its curve. So I'm going to get my buffer, and I'm just going to buff. If you fray the ends, you know, and come up underneath it. Just want a nice soft end. And I've made a little bit of too much of a bend in this. So I need to come in. Just keeping that curve in my wire. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. Smashing that tip. You can hear me snipping off of it, like a little clicking sound. I really should have used my round nose for that. Just taking off any frayed little ends. This is a 180 grit construction grade sanding block, and I buy them by the case. So I'm going to open that up. All right. Let's make sure I didn't mess up my shapes anywhere. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this in towards me. And I'm going to leave the tip out just a little bit. And I'm just going to roll it. I'm going to start my roll. I'm going to adjust my wrist, move my work around, so I'm always having myself in the best working position. And as I'm rolling, so this is really important, I'm holding my loop in the frame, and I'm rolling and pulling the wire in, not so much curving it super sharp yet. So let's do a little bit of each side. So I'm going to roll this in. I'm going to start my curve. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to start the roll and curve it. I'm pulling the wire down, sort of. So I'm pulling it down. So this one's down a lot further, so I'm going to start bringing this down further. You always want to match them up as much as possible. I need a fuller curve on this. I'm trying to give you, instead of me normally doing it when I'm by myself, I'm trying to give you step-by-step little increments to achieve that look that you want. So now I'm going to turn it in. Then I'm going to get in a different position so I can see my loop. And I'm going to start turning it in. And as I'm doing that, I'm pushing this wire here, the curve, because I want to keep the curve in it, away from me. I'm kind of pushing it. So let's do this one, because this one's got a much wider turn on it here. So I really need to bring that in. Get in a different working position. Always turning my work around. And I'm going to cut those ends. I don't like them. So I'm going to line these up, see how we're doing. Okay, so now we're going to curl them in a little bit more. And I guess we're going to leave those ends flush because I'm just not liking the little nicks in there. And these are just different ways to compensate. So I'm going to hold here, and I'm going to turn this in as I'm coming back on the loop. Okay. I just was thinking this morning, how could I give you step by step by step of achieving your goal? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to get my 6th step. It always is harder to teach than it is to actually do it. And I've done these so many times this morning. See what I'm saying? And I made a little baby one. Just plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round out this a little bit more. I'm going to put my plier in there, and I'm just going to push. Just want it rounded out a little bit more. That's a little bit better. What I'm going to do, straighten that out. Let's straighten this one out too. So I'm going to cut that tip off. I'm fiddling way too much, y'all. So I don't like that tip, so I'm going to cut it. Then I'm going to get my plier, the number 1 on the 6-step bell making plier. It's the smallest, holding firmly, and I'm just going to curl it up. This one needs to come in closer. It's just really good practice to do everything in little increments. I'm going to bend that down a little bit more. Okay, I'm much happier now. So that's what that's all about for me. I'm just a lot happier with that. So now, as I mentioned, I'm going to give you a lot of techniques. Just trying to get in my best working position. With my needle nose, I'm going to grab the tip. Just the very tip. It's back inside the plier. Holding at the arc here, just going to bend it in. Wanted just a little bit more of a bend on there. I'm going to do the same thing here. Right at the arc. I need to get in a better working position. I'm always moving my work around. Just right there. The tip is inside the jaw of the plier, holding here. And just give it a little bit of a tilt on it. So I like that much better. So now, after we've gone crazy over me perfecting this and driving myself nuts, I'm going to hold here at this loop, and I'm just going to pull the loop down here towards this direction. So to my right, because I'm going to hammer. So I'm going to pull it to my right, and I'm going to turn them like this so that I can see my curves. You want to look at your work as many different angles as you can, because it's all about maintaining that symmetry. I'm going to push up on this wire because it was riding towards the back a little bit, and I don't want it to do that. Just looking at them. Okay, so now we're going to get busy to hammering. And I'm going to get my chasing hammer. And if you've never seen a chasing hammer, it's slightly domed on one side. Some are very high domed. I have one of those, but I don't use it a lot. I like the one that's slightly domed. And on this side, it's a pinball. I think that's what they call it, or a peen ball or a pinball. And that creates texture in your piece. So I'm going to put this down on my block, and I'm going to start at the arc, okay? The first thing I'm going to do is just a gentle tap on the whole loop. So I did 5 little gentle taps. Then I'm going to adjust my piece, and I'm going to start flaring out that curve. As I'm coming back down to the inside of the turn in the loop, I'm just going to tap gently. Then I'm going to start to flare out more. Then tap gently because I'm making a smooth transition into the wire. Then I'm going to tap more. Now I'm sliding away from the arc. And I'm turning my piece, and then I'm just going to tap gently to smooth out that transition. Now I'm going to come down to the curve here, and I'm going to work my way down. So I'm holding over here at the loop, and I'm going to start to just gently tap out. I don't want any sharp bends, just gently tap out. Now I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to flare this out a little bit more over here. It's just personal taste at this point. And then gently tap. You can hear the change in the pressure I'm using. Okay, now we're going to do the other one. And then we'll buff these. So I'm going to do 5 little taps over the swirl. Then I'm going to start on the arc. And then smooth transition, tapping it all down. And then I'm going to start working my way down. I'm gentle tap. I want a smooth transition in that wire. I'm going to keep turning my piece, and I'm moving the hammer away. It's almost like a C. I don't want to make any sharp bends, and then I'm going to work my way back up as I'm turning my piece. I'm going to check them out. I'm going to see what they're looking like, if I need to do any more hammering. So I'm going to do a little bit more here. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to turn them this way because it's easier. It's so much easier. Okay, so that's looking pretty good to me. So now what I'm going to do before I do anything else is I'm going to buff. I'm going to squeeze that in just a little bit. And I'm going to squeeze this in just right on those loops. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to buff these. So I'm hoping, y'all, that you got a lot of good techniques, because I'm always trying to remember how I started, and I'm self-taught. And, well, I think in a way we all are, no matter who we watch. But what I mean by that is I didn't have anyone go through things step by step by step, like making a loop and doing it in very tiny increments versus trying to loop your wire. And I've discovered that for most people, making loops is really hard. I teach privately, and that's probably one of the hardest things for people to learn. And it's really important that your work always looks clean. Now, because 20 gauge is dead soft, you want to hold firmly. You want to brace your entire piece with your hand. And I'm not putting a huge amount of pressure, but I want this to be smooth all the way through. And I'm going to do both sides because I'm not sure which I want as my front yet. You want it really pretty. So let's do the other one. Let's get all this paraphernalia out of the way. Want that wire to look smooth all the way down. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to roll them this way because it's easier because that long wire is in the way. So I'm going to put these down on my board, and I'm going to turn this one right here. Just let me line them up again. So this one is curving in more. So I just want to curve this in more. And I'm going to do that. If I can find them, they may have fell on the floor. Here they are. So I'm looking at this, and I just need, and you got to be careful once you've hammered. So I'm going to come right here. It's going to be a very gentle movement. And I just want to curve it in. It's such a subtle movement because I want them to match. So I think this is going to be my front. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hold at the curve. And before I do that, I want to make sure that my loops are good. Just making sure they're lined up. It's a little bit. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to swing this wire. We're going to hold the loop, and we're going to swing it towards our loop here. And I'm just slowly anchoring, looking at how my wire is bending. So I'm going to hold right here, and I'm going to start pushing this wire towards the loop. like that. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to start pushing this wire, holding here at this loop firmly, and pushing this wire towards the loop. So we should have this. Let me put it on the board so you can see. So now we're going to hold right here and we're going to squeeze these together, okay? And I've got a little bit of a straight line in here and I don't like that. So I'll show you what I mean. There's not enough of a curve in here. So how I'm going to correct that is I'm going to come back on the wire. Okay, so I wasn't liking that straight. There was a little bit of a straight line in there. So I'm curving that wire a little bit more. And I'm doing that by coming back on this loop here. Very subtle, creating more of a curve in there. I'm just rounding this out, little tiny movements. Now let me look at that. That's better. It had a little bit of too much of a straight line. So let me see when I move it back what that does to my wire. And I'm actually going to curve that a little bit more. And I'm doing that by rolling this loop. So this loop right here towards the back of this outside wire. So I'm just going to roll it just a little bit more of a curve. Okay, I think that's good. I'm fiddling a lot. So now I'm going to hold these two together so that they're flush to each other. I'm going to grab here at the tip of the wire and I'm going to follow. I'm following the shape and I'm going to bring it all the way around. So you should have this. And we could curve that in more if you wanted, but I don't see the need. So that's what you want. Once you let go, it's going to automatically spring out. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Let's see. I'm going to hold them together right here. And I'm going to swing it around. I'm just following the shape. And then when you let go, it's going to spring out. So we have this. Now, if you wanted to curve these in more, you would do this now, because this is where we're going to connect. So let's get our half round wire. And we're almost done. So what we're going to do, if you need to mark your wire so you know where your front is, we're going to leave the longest part of the wire towards the top. So I'm going to come around. Well, let me think about this. I'm going to come this way. Let me bend this in half. I'm fiddling too much, you guys. There's something about doing tutorials. So we want to hold them together. So I've got it kind of upside down. And right here, I'm going to separate them out. I'm going to pull and pull. Now I'm going to swing my wire over and through the loop. And as I start pulling it, I'm going to pull it. Do you see me? I'm pulling them together to where they're flush. Both these wires are flush to each other. Then I'm just going to squeeze it through and I'm going to press it down. Now I'm going to pull. I'm just doing baby steps with everything for you newbies. So I'm just pulling that over, flattening it out. I'm really tightening that up. I'm going to slide this up just a little bit. It's a nice thing about half round, is you can move it up and down. So I'm going to roll it through, and if it's easier for you, just come and anchor off that wire and flatten it down before you start your next rotation. Now it's going to do this, and that's okay. It's not hurting anything. I'm going to tighten, and I'm going to pull it over, flatten it down. Just seeing how far down I want these wraps. I'm going to move them up before I can't. Want more of the curl, the curve. Want more of that showing. I'm just going to push it over with my hand, flatten it out, swing it around. So at this point, I'm just deciding on how many wraps I want. So let me do this side and then we'll talk about center and I'll be right back. So I've done 4 wraps, or 4.5 so to speak, because my 5th wrap is coming over the top on each side. And now what you want to do is they're not meant to be, as you can see here, a perfect center. They're offset a little bit. So what you want to do is you want to line this up on your measuring board. I'm going to slide it down to where the curl is to the right on the bottom a little bit more. And then just get your marker. And you see that little cross in there? I'm going to mark right here. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to have that curl to the right a little bit. Just going to make sure they're lined up. Tilt that back a little. See how that's tilt back a little bit? My half round are going off on an angle. I'm going to slide this down so I can see my little mark. And we're just going to make a little mark there. So now we're going to keep wrapping. Or you can slide your wraps up at this point. But I've got enough wire to do that, so I'm just going to push up a little bit. And push up a little bit. And then I'm just going to wrap these through on my 5th wrap. I'm just pushing with my hand, holding firmly. I'm going to come in with my plier and just push that down. Now you could decorate even more with this wire here. So I've got 6 wraps. I want to make sure that they're in the same position. And I don't know about you guys, but we are finally in full-blown winter in Sedona. Just squeeze that through and just push it around. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this off back here. So I'm lifting up on my wire. That gives me working room because I don't want the cut to end at the top of the earring wire. My rule of thumb is 1/3 to 2/3 depending on what you're creating. Then I'm going to stretch that wire and cinch it in the back. So let's go ahead and cut this little guy. I'm going to lift up on my wire. So I have working room. You can always take off and then leave more than what you think so that you can see where your wire is resting. I'm going to just take off a rabbit's hair because half round stretches. Then I'm going to anchor off that wire and stretch it and push it down. So let's take a look. That looks pretty good. Squeeze these together. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to swing this wire here where our wraps are. Now my mark is gone because I didn't use the right Sharpie, but I've got a pretty good eye on center. And we're just going to swing it up because we need to cut the length off. Now you can do a double curl or a single curl. I can't talk today. So on these, I did a single curl. So I just did a single loop. On these, I did a double loop. So I'm now going to do the same thing over here, but I'm going to turn my work around so I can get in a good working position. And I'm just going to swing this wire up. So that's way too much wire, but you could really decorate from here. I mean, you could take this wire, make a loop, follow back around the pattern, and make another loop. So let me tell you what I'm thinking. You could make a loop on top here, and as you're coming around, the loop can go around to the back. You can come up underneath, or the loop could go around to the front, and you could follow the curve of this outside wire and curve it back down and tie it off and make it even more dimensional. But I want to keep it beginner friendly. So I'm now going to roll this wire towards the back because I want to get it out of my way. And I'm going to cinch it down. And I'm going to push it through so it's out of my way. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Bring it around. And cinch it down. So now we're going to measure the length. And to make a double loop, I don't need this much wire. So I'm going to start at the 3/4 inch mark. So here's a 1 inch square. Each one of these is a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to cut where my wire is bending here at the 3/4 inch mark. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I got to tell you guys, it's pouring rain. Pouring rain. Now I just want to get a visual on the length. Make sure that they're the same, and they look pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to roll these in. And I'm going to use my 6th step, and I'm going to use the number 1 because this is an earring. We may end up with too much wire here. So I'm just rolling it. And if it ends up being too much, then I can cut it. But I'm just keeping a curve on that. And it's looking like it's going to work out perfect. And I'm just going to roll it in. So we've got that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Get my number 1 in there. And I'm going to start rolling. I'm going to adjust my wrist, making my first loop. And I'm just rolling it into itself. So let's see what we got. It might be a little wonky. That's okay. We can fix that. I'm going to come back in on this and push that in and push the top down That's my back. I'm going to bring this together here. This one needs to curve back a little bit. So I'm going to come back on that curve. And then I'm going to roll it up more. Much better. Now let's see what we got. This is the front of each. Just using my plier to make my adjustments. So here we go, our beautiful earrings, everybody. So now I'm going to take this excess wire here, it's just a little bit, and I'm going to wrap it over the neck or the frame. And I'm just going to bring it through, and I'm going to make a couple of wraps. So there's one. That's two. That's three. I got to make sure I got enough wire for both. That's four. How many do I want to do? Let's squeeze these in closer. I'm going to stop there for right now because I don't want to take away from that curve too much. That's the back, that's the front. So I'm just going to push that through. That's the front. I'm going to flatten that down. Okay, fiddling too much. That's three. Flatten that down. And four. So let me take a look. Just personal preference. You could literally wrap all the way down here if you want, but I like that open space. So I think I'm going to do one more. Stop at 5. But you do whatever you like, and our gorgeous earrings are done. So I'm going to leave that lifted up on the back because remember this wire is going to stretch, and I want to stretch it. So I'm going to cut right here where it's barely sticking off the outside edge. And I'm going to come in with my plier and I'm going to anchor off that, and I'm going to stretch it. And it's going to lay flush right on the back side. See that? And you can't feel a thing. So I need to do one more wrap here. This is the front. I'm just going to push that little piece of mangled wire through, bring it around. Going to cut, there's just a little tip right there. You see that? Then with my needle nose, I'm going to stretch that over, literally stretching it over the frame. Come around and rock it in. So it's right there on the back. If you have a little sharp edge, just come in with your buffer and just sand that out. So here is our beautiful earrings, and you see the difference in size. I wanted to make them a little bit bigger. Now, if you wanted to at this point, you could come in here and just grab the tip and the tip only and curl it in more. You could just curl that in more, just the tip. See, I put a little bit more of a curl on the tip there because this one had a little bit more of one. Or you could use your round nose. Be careful not to mess up your wire because you hammered it. Just giving you more technique and round it out more. So you can just round that out. Just personal preference. See that? So let me see. I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Just rounding it out a little bit more. And here are our beautiful earrings. So all we're going to do is put our ear hooks on. Now this normally, if you're already making jewelry a lot, and this ancient art of wire should take you about 20 minutes. But when we're starting out, it's a whole different ball game. So that's why I'm very beginner friendly. All I'm going to do is open this up, and I've done a lot of tutorials on this decorative wire hook. And I'm going to slide my earring in, and I'm going to flatten it back and squeeze it in. Now, if I tweaked my earring frame at all, I'm just going to come in and flatten it. There's one beautiful earring. You could add beads. So I hope that you really enjoyed that, everybody. Please give me your feedback. Let me know what you thought. Then I'm going to come around over here, just squeeze it in, flatten out my earring. And here is our beautiful, let me see if I can get a good hold on this, earrings with that huge mess in the back. So it's just a bigger version, but I think sometimes it might be easier starting out with making something a little bit bigger than making it very small. But it just shows you how it changes it a little bit, right? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that, everyone. Have a wonderful, magical wire wrap day. Bye for now.